Now, let's just listen to the chairman of Mansour Holdings that spoke on behalf of Sheikh Mansour himself. There we go.
Thank you very much. I will do my oral speech on behalf of His Highness Sheikh Mansour.
Yeah.
Mansour Holding, basically, it's a Qatari-based company, and Sheikh Mansour has been given the mandate to develop Africa. Our vision, not just to come and do one project and move on. It's our vision is just to look at long-term partnership, friendship, also using our technical experience from all sectors around the world. So our technical team is, we believe, is one of the best, dealing with agriculture, livestock, food security.
So this is a big deal in Zambia. So we can see the chairman, as he's just placed out there, they are planning to work with Zambia in so many different sectors of the economy. And the president himself, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, also known as HH, Hakainde Hichilema. So this man said this is the largest in Zambia's history. So this has never happened before, because it's always been all about IMF or the World Bank and all these big entities. But when you get a private individual that comes with such pledges, this is too good to be true. And we only hope that all these pledges that have been pledged will come to fruition, and it will be a good thing, because when that happens, it's just going to change Zambia's economy, and this is what people want. If this money lands in Zambia, this will be wonderful news. So who is this man that has received a lot of attention in Africa? A lot of people had never heard of his name. They've never heard of this man until last month, when he visited 6 African countries, namely Zambia, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Burundi, Mozambique, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. So this man, he's not even the president of Qatar. In fact, Qatar doesn't even have a president. It's a monarchy ruled by the Thani royal family, and the highest authority is the Emir, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani. So Sheikh Mansour is part of this family. He's not the highest in terms of hierarchy, but I think he's a prince or something like that. And he runs a private equity firm called Mansour Holdings, and this man came with his own entourage, and these are the people that were interacting with the government ministers all across different countries to broker business deals. So what's the difference between Qatar and the West? Because if we look at the amount of money being pledged here, more than 100 billion US dollars, this is a lot of money. This is a lot more money than what is normally pledged or what is normally invested by entities such as the IMF, the World Bank, and all these others. Now, let me explain to you why this is a big deal, why this man, the African presidents, are quite happy to roll out the carpet. So when the West comes to Africa, they usually come with conditions. You've got the IMF loans, you've got the aid programs, and usually when you don't comply with all their conditions, there's normally what they call as sanctions, So they will sanction a country based on a certain things that they have not met, or the certain conditions that they have not met in that particular deal. So China comes with infrastructure loans, Russia comes with security deals, but Sheikh Mansour comes with speed. This man comes with glamour. He comes with his entourage, and all behind his private equity firm. Now, each country walked away with headline figures. Zambia, we're talking of about $19 billion, which was held by President Hakainde Hichilema as the biggest deal in the country's history. Botswana, we are talking about $12 billion, including investment in infrastructure and even cybersecurity. Mozambique, $20 billion, targeting energy and agriculture. So together, that's already over 50 billion in pledges. Now, that's a lot of money if you think of it. So I'm sure while Zambia was signing all these big deals, a lot of African presidents must have been looking in and asking themselves questions. When is this man coming on our soil? You know, they just couldn't wait. So Zimbabwe also benefited. Zimbabwe, they signed a 19 billion US dollars as well, and $500 million went to gas. So that's a big deal for our neighbors, Zimbabwe. So DRC, over 20 billion promised for hydropower and mining. So remember, this is a country that supplies half the world's cobalt. This is a country that is making a lot of money out of the mining, out of the minerals, and yet the Mansour Holdings didn't really hold DRC to ransom about that. So obviously they are willing to work with all these countries to invest, and hopefully this is too good to be true, and we hope that this materializes in beefing up or boosting the African economies, and this is exciting news for Africa. So pledges versus reality. Okay, so 100 billion US dollars, that's a lot of money. So this is what the Mansour Holdings have pledged all across the 6 African nations, like I said, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Burundi, Mozambique, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. But what we have to understand, that this is not hard cash. This is not money that is going to be received within a few days. This is not money when the Mansour Holdings goes back to Qatar. They will simply wire this money back to the country. So people need to understand that, yes, the monies have been pledged, but this money has been signed under the memorandums of understanding. These are not bank transfers. So our Mansour Holdings is not Qatar's sovereign wealth fund. It's a private company, and critics point out it has no public track record of executing projects at this scale. So Africans need to ask, how much of this money will arrive to us? How much money will come, and on what terms? Okay, so at the end of the day, yes, the money has been pledged. Yes, it's a good thing that the money has been pledged. And I think for us, for the Africans, just the fact that the money has been pledged gives a lot of people a lot of hope. And I think this is important. Also knowing that this money comes with no strings attached, there won't be any sanctions. And even if a deal goes badly wrong, it's not as if, you know, you'll be sanctioned. This is a win-win situation, and we only hope that this money truly lands on African soils, and it will be good for the people. It will be good for the African economies and the different sectors of the African economies as well. So we are really looking forward to this, and it's a good thing. Reflection. This means a lot for Africa, and we just want to thank the Sheikh Mansour Holdings for even considering traveling to Africa across all these 6 countries. And I'm sure other African countries must be asking themselves, why not us? Why not us? You see, but I'm sure something will come up for them as well. But we're just lucky that Zambia was also a part of it. It benefited from the 19 billion United States dollars. So one thing about all of this is that at least we know that Africa has got options. It's not always going to be about the IMF. It's not always going to be about the World Bank, particularly countries like Zimbabwe or Burundi. These countries have been subjected to sanctions by the IMF and the World Bank and even the West generally for a long time, for so many years. I remember when Robert Mugabe under sanctions for a long time, and I'm not sure whether this has changed with President Mnangagwa. But just to know that we've got options such as the Sheikh Mansour Holdings, this is such a big deal. Now, the question that there is will these billions turn into real jobs, real power plants, and real infrastructure for ordinary Africans, or will they remain promises that never reach the people? So this is a question that we always have to ask ourselves. Is this going to come to fruition? Is this going to happen? But regardless of whether this happens or not, and we know this is going to happen, we hope and pray that this happens. You see, one thing about Africans is we are always very hopeful about things. And there's no way the man would travel, you know, have the splendor, the glamour, all that entourage for nothing. No, we don't believe in that. We know that something will come up, And it may not be the whole lot of that money as promised, 19 billion for Zambia, but at least some billions will end up in Zambia, and it will do good for the economy of Zambia, and it will do good for the other economies of Africa as well. And this is such an honor as well for the 6 countries to have been shortlisted, and we don't know what criteria the Mansour Holdings used to shortlist these 6 countries, but whatever they did, we're just grateful to know that what they did is such a good thing. So until next time, we'll see you in the next video. Thank you.